Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Sports Block. I'm Coach Wes Petty coming to you from the house. Since we got no high school sports to cover right now, we thought we'd take the Sports Block back to its roots, where it originally started as a sports talk show. And who better than to join me than the two original OGs themselves? Let me welcome in on the left wing over there, fresh off the hardwood from the Web Designers AAU circuit, coming back wearing the 4-5. My main man, one of the founders of the Sports Block, Ryan Magnusson. Welcome in, brother.
That's right. That intro was better than I could have scripted, Petty. That was perfect. I appreciate that.
I got one more for you. Posting up, down low in the middle. Another one of the original founders of the Sports Block, recently relocated back to the Triangle from the Queen City, straight off the Sandlot, the designated hitter, wearing the 3-4. Mr. Ryan Grover, welcome back, brother.
I'm just glad I don't have to play all the rounds. Like, I can come out, swing the bat a few times, and go back in the dugout.
Hey, that's why you in the lineup, man. That's why you in the lineup. Now, look, I know we got a lot to talk about tonight, fellas. Talking about the current state of high school athletics. But before we get into this thing, let me just remind everybody, you guys started this thing 13 years ago, man. 13 years ago, you guys founded the Sports Block. Time flies, man. But look, for real, did you ever think it would still be going on and that it would be what it is today?
No way. I mean, we hoped it would continue, right, Grover? I mean, we hoped that some students after us would continue with it, but that was just a hope. It certainly wasn't an expectation, and not even an expectation that it would grow to what it is today. So whenever I go back to a football or a basketball game, half the time I'm just watching you guys run up and down the sidelines and up in the press box. It's awesome to watch, man.
Yeah, we definitely didn't foresee this going. We had no expectations, right? And just to see it keep going double-digit years into the future is crazy. So we're glad to be back.
Pretty cool, man. How, like this thing started as you guys just doing some sports talk radio, basically, podcasting from Mr. Maldonado's room. And what's funny is, since we broadcast all of the Mustangs home sporting events now, the first Sports Block was actually on the road.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
It was at Broughton.
Mm-hmm. Hostile territory. We were, we had the crowd cheering us for our first time ever. It was not an ideal situation, actually, but it couldn't have been more fun.
Well, they didn't know what they were looking at. Like, who are these kids setting up this big recorder? Why are they here? We were right behind the student section. So they didn't have to go very far to yell at us, but it was fun.
Yeah, I think David Muse picked that spot out, so I'm going to lay that one on him.
It sounds like a Muse. Sounds pretty Muse-like.
Hey, and from that night, really, the rest is history, so to speak. But here's what I think is pretty cool about guys too, man. You started this thing, but you didn't just plant the seed; continue to watch it grow. I look at all you guys have given back to the program. Obviously, starting it was a huge thing that have changed so many students' lives that have come through the program since then. But also, I look at you guys' track record. So, you guys leave a few years later. We have the coaches show at Ruckus where we're, for 2 years, we're down there one night a week live from Ruckus Pizza, broadcasting the coaches show for football season, which went well into the winter season because the Mustangs were doing so well for 2 years. A few years later, we started the Middle Creek Athletic Hall of Fame, and you guys came back and co-hosted that first event for us. And then a few years later, you guys yourselves were actually inducted into the Middle Creek Athletic Hall of Fame as our first sportscaster. So I think it's just really cool, that you guys didn't just start this thing and walk away, but like I said, you planted the seed and have continued to watch it grow. And, 13 years, we're still together. So it's really cool to have you guys, and appreciate all you've done for the program, man. It's pretty cool.
You make it easy to come back, Petty.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. So, like I say, we got a lot to cover tonight. So excited to have you guys back, the original founders of the Sports Block. When we come back, we're going to get into this thing about the current state of high school athletics, where we are with the pandemic. You're watching us live from the couch. This is Sports Block. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Sports Block. We're joined now by one of our current commentators, Mr. Bryce Herring. Trying to figure out this whole thing now. So, welcome in, Bryce. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, it's great to be on. So, it's really a lot right now, just hearing the news, just the day of, like, all of it was, like, pretty hectic just to start. And I mean, I didn't ever really think that we would get to where we're at now, where, the spring season's done. I mean, we played 4 games, and that was it. I mean, it was kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, there was some news of it was going to be a lot and it was going to be something that affected us, but I think leaving that last game, we were all prepared to be back May 15th.
So to catch everybody up real fast, Bryce, your senior year, obviously, you're a member of the baseball team. So, last time around the block, and, one of those sports, obviously, in the spring that was cut short completely, almost. So, tell me what's going on now as you went from progression. Let's take it back to the beginning, to when we left school on March 13th, excuse me. Tell me what that day was like.
I mean, I was always told, like, before my first game by all the seniors of last year that, like, your last game will hit you like a truck in a moment. And, I felt like I was pretty good. And, going through the game, like, everyone was super, like, fired up, having a great time. And, we finished the game and, we won. So that was great. You don't normally go out on a win, but just knowing that was it. Like, that could be our last game because we didn't know at the time. I mean, it's a lot because you work all year. I mean, we play summer ball in a summer league. You go through fall training, winter, all the way up for the season. And I feel like we were on pace for a pretty good season, and just all of that in a one last game that you didn't even know it was going to be your last game. And, you just had to give it your all and just try to enjoy it as much as you can. And I think all the players really made that really enjoyable. I mean, we got out after the game. We run ruled South Garner. So, I mean, that was really, really great for us. And getting back into the locker room after a game, I mean, we were having fun, man. It was really great, but it really hits you that this could be it. And it's very emotional.
Yeah, I feel for you guys, man. I mean, going back to my senior year and playing football and doing sports block and stuff, I can't imagine it getting interrupted like this. So you kind of brought us up to that point of just the craziness of all of it. So how were you guys kind of processing it initially, and how are you processing it now?
Well, so the day that it was announced that Friday would be the last day for sport, we had a late practice on Thursday. So I was driving up from my house, and I really didn't know what to expect. I mean, it's our last practice. We really had no idea, and I guess it didn't really sink in until after the game that this really could be it. And I think we all left the field optimistic that we would play again. Not really just because we thought we would play again, but just, you really just want to be out there again. And I mean, playing with those guys, our senior year, I mean, it was really fun. We had the whole team out there. I mean, of course, one of the seniors got injured in practice on Wednesday. So that was pretty sad knowing that he didn't get to really be out there. But all in all, it was really fun, but just we didn't know what to expect. I mean, you really just have no idea what's happening. If we've heard rumors all over the place, like of just conference tournament, or we'd be back in the summer, or, I mean, just people thinking we'd be back May 15th. I mean, the last thing that coach said to us before we left the field was, really come back out of this with a lot of momentum if we work hard. And, we might not be the most overpowered team, but we could definitely make a run if we worked hard and we practiced and did the stuff we needed to do on our own time.
Yeah, so you kind of talked a little bit about it towards the end. When it was called on the 13th, what kind of communication were you getting from coaches, from teachers, or I know you kind of talked a little bit about hearing rumors and things like that. What were you doing in the meantime before we knew that this was going to be it for you guys?
I mean, we were just practicing, like preparing for conference play. I mean, we had that late Thursday night practice because we play all conference games late. We play them at night. So the plan was, get prepared for conference games. We had South Garner and I believe Apex. So we were going to use those games to really get in the flow of it. The thing with baseball is it takes time to get into the mid-season flow. People start off really hot or really bad, and as the season goes on, you kind of level out. But we were still just trying to get our footing. I mean, we had a little bit of momentum coming out of our first home game, I believe, on Tuesday. But yeah, we were just ready to play.
In that first week that you were gone, that following Monday, and then throughout, like, were y'all doing anything as a team? Obviously, there were certain things you could do, couldn't do. When did you guys really start to think that if we wanted to stay on pace, we had to take it into our own hands, or were coaches giving you things to do? Tell us what that was like.
So a lot of it was, the ball was in our court. I mean, you got to put in the work. I mean, coaches can only do so much. And, right out of break, like everyone was pretty enthusiastic about like going to the turf field and just throwing, still, following social distancing and all of that. But, getting in the stuff you can as a group and then doing whatever you can just as an individual. I mean, I personally, I've been running a lot more and I've hit every day. I've thrown. Luckily, I have my brother who I could just throw with, but I mean, people are just throwing off of walls. Some people have batting cages, but just trying to do as much as you can and, stay as fit as you can because everyone knows, I mean, someone out there is working, so you got to continue to work regardless of the situation and scenario.
Yeah.
But we didn't get a ton from Coach. That's partially just because, like, it's really the high school association and all that. You don't really want to do anything that would be out of boundaries or like do anything against regulations.
Yeah.
So, Bryce, I just wanted to give you an opportunity. You kind of touched on it a little bit already. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to tell us what this baseball team would have looked like had you guys played a full season. What the season would have looked like for you guys. What would have been your prediction?
I mean, we definitely went into the season not as the most highly rated team, but I really think we could have got it done. I mean, we had a lot of solid pitching. I mean, we had the most depth we've had in years. I mean, just up and down the lineup, we had solid hitters. And just, I feel like the combination of young hitters that we had, like Chase and Gavin and other younger players, I mean, juniors were playing really well. I mean, we had a great combination of younger players and older players, and just when it gets down to like the nitty gritty and the stuff that's really important, having that pitching depth is so important. And, having people like Sean Brown, Sam Perez, Guppy, and, me and Ruben and others that have like varsity experience. I mean, we just had a very deep pitching lineup that could have really just, as long as we got a couple runs a game, I mean, we would just be able to win a lot. And I think we were going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, man. But I think I heard earlier though that technically we 4 games in, calling things we're conference champs, right? Do you want to go ahead and claim that now? Or
I would love to claim that. Undefeated in conference play, definitely the best run differential. We put up a good showing against South Garner. I mean, I'd love.
Title's a title. Doesn't matter if you put an asterisk next to or not. I mean, a title's a title.
Take it.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to play like a conference tournament, but it doesn't seem like that's possible. I'd love to. I mean, the best games are always against, Fuquay, Holly Springs, Garner. I mean, we might lose or it might be a rough game for either side, but it's always the most fun. I mean, the energy's so high. I mean, I remember my favorite game has to be, and the Sports Walk was there for it, but it was the Holly Springs game at the end of last season where we beat them at home and we walked them off. That was so awesome. And
Yeah.
Getting to play teams like that is what really makes it, and winning those big games is just awesome.
Yeah. And I think the toughest part, and I'm definitely not in your shoes. I think the toughest part was just not knowing and not being able to do anything about not knowing. I know I'm just gonna use Magnusson as an example right now, but I mean when Magnusson was a junior, he tore his ACL. He missed a good portion of the season, but he knew he could come back. And with you guys, you unfortunately you can't say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we tried to stay as positive as possible. I mean, I definitely left the building thinking we'd be back. You know, a couple other seniors. I know Sean came up to me, "We'll be back," but I mean, it's just yourself pushing you to just keep working. And I mean, I'm going to baseball, but I know for those that aren't, it's even harder to continue. I mean, a lot of us, you know, we love to practice with our teammates, and that's what makes it fun. I mean, just going into practice, you know, we're shagging balls in the outfield, placing bets, just tossing balls into a bucket, trying to do something, keep it interesting, and just
Yeah.
competitiveness of practice is what made practice fun. And just doing it on your own is a lot of hard work, and you just kind of gotta buckle down and just do it.
Yeah.
Right,
So
let me ask you this. So, you know, a lot of us that that have played, myself included, everybody has that last game, and only one team is that champion at the end of the year. But, you still have that emotion of that last game when it ends. That last time in the locker room, that last time on the bus. And it's a tearful moment for a lot of people, but you didn't have that. Very different than anybody else that got to finish it on the field. You guys didn't have a chance to finish it on the field. So, what is that emotion, I guess, now and moving forward, as, one day you'll drive by that baseball field again and know that it was cut short. What are the thoughts continually going through your head now as you know that it's final, but it didn't really get a chance to make it on your own terms?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. I mean, I definitely didn't play my best game on my last night there. I definitely put a lot of pressure on myself because just the thought of it being your last game, you want to put a lot into it, especially, knowing like what I've gone throughout high school with the team, and just, having to work my way up from the bench and just to be able to get that time out in the field. It was a lot. And, I never really played a lot at home. I somehow got a lot of my starts and appearances away. So going into that last game, it's just, there was so much around it. And I normally try to just relax and just stay focused on the game ahead. And, thinking back at it, it was more about being there as a team and being, having fun collectively than, oh, I didn't play my best game, and getting into that locker room after the game and just having fun, jumping around, just having fun with the team is what really makes the sport. I mean, you got to do it out there on the field to have fun off the field. And I think we did a great job of both, especially, with the circumstance. And even though it might have been our last game, I mean, we definitely lived it up to the fullest. I mean, a lot of teams don't get to go out on a win. And I guess that's one thing to be positive about. I mean, at least we went out on a win, but in my opinion, I'd rather go to a playoff game and, give it our all and lose in the second round of Gibbons or something, some team, just for the chance of just, getting there and just moving on.
So you wouldn't have lost to Gibbons anyways, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This year we'd have it.
So in terms of, you said moving on. So in terms of really moving on, I wanted to ask you if you had any plans of trying to play baseball at the next level, try and play collegiately, and other guys on the team, for them too, those that are. What does that look like right now for you guys?
So I know. So I'm going to college to play baseball, and so is my friend Brian Rubin. And I know Sean Brown's going to play football at Liberty. So Sean's been working and dieting and doing all of that for Liberty. I mean, it's a lot to be a D1 quarterback. And I'm sure Ruben always puts a lot of work in the arm care and like velocity training because he's also a pitcher. He's a left-handed pitcher just like me. And he's going to go to Mount Olive. I'll be over at Methodist. And I mean, just knowing that, you know, with gyms closed and other stuff not available, it makes it that much harder. But I mean, luckily for me and Brian, we both have a younger brother that we can throw to. So that helps a lot. But it's not easy, and especially with the way that college is going to work with expanded rosters, you know, it makes that first year of college even more difficult. And I mean, just trying to do as much to be prepared for college because they always talk about it's a huge step up. I mean, players have came back like Dom, Josh White, Chassis, and they always tell you stuff like it's such a big commitment and you really got to be in shape. That's the biggest thing that I've heard. I mean, my friend Chassis, who had a great season at Campbell, he had surgery this year, but had an amazing season at Campbell, said the toughest thing is just being in shape. I mean, they put you have a nutritionist on board, you have a conditioning coach, you know, they're really on it. And so going into that, you have to be prepared. You have to be like in good shape and ready to get down to business. Because if you aren't in the right mindset for it, you're just going to fall behind and eventually just end up not getting to where you want to be.
Yeah, could you expand a little more too on what that communication is like from the coaches at the next level, the collegiate coaches, and how they're trying to help you guys facilitate this transition?
You know, just emailing coach. I emailed my coach about getting a roommate and, you know, just trying to get better fitted for the college. And then my coach called me before. I don't remember exactly when this call was, but my coach called me and just said, you know, keep working, work hard, and we have big plans for the future. Just to give a little background about the college I'm going to, Methodist University is a very good baseball team. I believe they went 32-8 last season, and they always are pushing to get into the D3 tournament. And the way that the D3 tournament works is if you don't win your conference, you basically don't get in. So in a conference of 20 teams, that conference tournament is crucial. And being a pitcher, they already told me, like right as I got on board, we're going to need a lot of pitching endurance. And pitching takes a lot out of a person. You know, if you're pitching on 2 days rest, 1 day rest, it's going to be tough. So that's why they really key in on that. And then just regarding communication, I've gotten a lot of information from organizations like Perfect Game and like Baseball Insider on just, you know, just giving you the facts, because I heard a lot of, you know, with D1 rosters being fully sized, you could see them take a chance on kids and give them a chance, but it's a double-edged sword, because if you accept an offer to a big school and, you know, that you don't pan out for them, they might just move on and go to the next player. So I've gotten a lot of information from, you know, baseball organizations and people just trying to guide us through all this. I mean, it's not a normal situation, so it's tough, and a lot of it's speculation.
Well, before we let you get out of here, let's switch to Sports Block. Just a real softball question. What's the best player maybe for Middle Creek that you've ever commentated or seen? And just best player, period. Could be the same, could be different.
Oh, I mean, best player I've commentated, I mean, definitely has to be that last game of the High School Association basketball tournament. Just from the outside, I mean, that all around, there were so many players that were so talented. And best player I've commentated for, I'd say at Middle Creek. That's tough. You put me on the spot there, man. Oh,
it doesn't have to be commentated. It can be anybody you watched, or, you know, best player I ever seen play was Nate Harris. So,
I mean,
another legend, keeping it in the family.
I mean, I got to I filmed. So I work with the Durham Bulls over summer. I'm with the Durham Bulls post 5 or post 50, and major leaguers do rehab games, in the minors now. So I mean, just off the top of my head, I've met Jason Kipnis, Blake Snell, Aaron Judge, and Giancarlo Stanton. Yeah,
It's not
Giancarlo
bad.
Stanton came in and just
Take that,
destroyed the
Grover.
Bulls.
Say what?
Take that. How's that for an
I'll take Nate Harris all day, baby.
Stanton hit a ball 3 rows up over the bowl. My man wasn't aiming for the bowl. He was going up and over it. I mean, and just seeing those guys, I mean, like, because, one of the cameras is in the dugout. And, they always tell you, I mean, oh, these guys are huge. Oh, my God. They're giant. I mean, Aaron Judge looks like an absolute beast. Like, if I'm on the mound and I'm pitching to Aaron Judge, I'm just intentional walk. I can't. He's going to get like 500 feet. I mean, not a chance.
Well, Bryce,
I mean, you could always.
I know you'll be joining us for other episodes down the road, but I appreciate you giving us some insight from a senior's perspective, from a spring sports athlete about kind of what you're going through right now. So thanks for joining us, man. We've got more on this topic of the current state of high school athletics. You're watching the Sports Block. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Sports Block. We've got more information about the current state of high school athletics. Joining me back in are Ryan and Ryan, and this time we're also bringing in Charlie Reeder, another one of our current Sports Block commentators, senior golfer, another spring sport athlete. So, Charlie, welcome in, man. Just kind of tell us a little bit about how you feeling right now, man.
Well, thank you guys for having me. And I'm feeling pretty good, surprisingly. Obviously it was very disappointing seeing our senior year end and our senior golf season, but I've just been trying to keep the hopes up and just not letting myself down and making the most out of quarantine.
Yeah, so we kind of went through kind of a series of events with Bryce, and I guess we can kind of start there with you as well. I mean, obviously, schedules and especially golf compared to baseball is a lot different. When you heard the news, where were you guys in your season? Were you actively working up to it? Where were you guys at with that?
So we had already competed in 3 or 4 matches throughout the year, and I really didn't think much of any of the virus for a while until after the end of our home match at Eagle Ridge. Everyone saw on their phones that March Madness had been canceled for the rest of the year, and then after the days went on past that, everyone kind of thought the season might end. So we were a little before halfway throughout the year, but it was frustrating because our team just started to finally heat up. That last match we played really well, and so did all the other teams. So it was kind of sad because all the golfers were finally getting into prime condition.
Yeah, and I think it's a really cool kind of dichotomy between a team sport and yes, you're part of Middle Creek's golf team, but a lot of it is playing against yourself and playing against the field. And obviously, when the season does get halted on the 13th, you're obviously allowed to do a lot more things because you don't need a team to play golf. Kind of walk us through, once your season gets canceled, how are you kind of staying prepared? How are you working out? What does that look like?
Pretty much the exact same. Instead of going to team practice like I would every weekday, I would just go to my home course, Devil's Ridge, after school, or 12 Oaks where I work. I can play at either of those courses, and I would just practice there and most days of the week, 5 or 6 days a week, and just continue practicing. Really no different than I usually would. Keep on playing, practicing, and until now, I still keep on playing just in case, I'm ready to play whenever.
Yeah. So fast forwarding to now, then you kind of mentioned what you're up to now. So what is it like for an athlete, especially in golf? What can you do right now? What are you doing to stay sharp?
Well, all the golf courses are still open. Just yesterday, me and Middle Creek teammate Leo played at 12 Oaks, just like anyone else would at any other time. So it's not too hard as a golfer, other than not being able to compete in events. So there's still a lot of opportunities for us to play, and I'm really grateful for that because it's a sport where you can be at distance from other people. If you're using separate carts or walking on your own. So I'm really appreciative of that, and it's pretty much normal.
And you mentioned that the team had just started to heat up, so I kind of asked Bryce the same thing, but I want to give you an opportunity to tell us how you think the season would have played out. Your own personal season and the team. How do you think you guys would have finished up?
I think we were headed in a good direction. Out of the 7 teams in the conference, we had to place in top 3 for regional, and in most of the matches to start, we were in the 4th place position, and we placed 4th matches, but our scores were improving greatly, and we were finally getting into some easier courses on the schedule. We were starting to play really well at practice and in the matches, so I think we might have been able to make a good push for that 3rd place. But some other players on the team, like Edward Daunton, he could have qualified for regionals on his own. He was playing. So I think there were a lot of opportunities for everyone on the team.
And what's communication been like between you and the team, you and your coaches, you and fellow students? Like, what has that been like? What's that communication been?
Well, for the golf teammates, I've actually been seeing them, a lot at the golf course. It's not that we're like having practice, but we all play golf at the same course. So, and we're there a lot of the time because, there's not many other things to do during quarantine. So, been seeing them a lot, been able to talk to them, which is really nice. And while other people from school, you might be texting them, but there's, not too many things you can do with them. I've been trying to, stay inside the house other than golfing and work. So, just texting those people, but the golf team I've actually been able to see a good amount, which has been awesome.
Yeah, and can you walk through what it's like to be? I mean, yeah, we've been talking about sports, but what it's like to be a senior that has no prom, has no graduation ceremony. What are those types of things been like processing through?
Well, it's definitely been disappointing, because those are things you think about as a kid, hoping for that graduation, prom. So it's obviously sad to see all those things, kind of fly away from you. But, this will definitely be a story I'll be able to tell my kids one day. So that's kind of just how I think of it now, just to keep a smile on my face and stay positive.
Charlie, I asked Bryce this question too, in terms of, you often hear in sports, play every game like it's your last, and your last time out is something that comes for every senior in high school, knowing that only one can finish on top, so to speak, one person, one team, whether you're a team sport, individual sport. As you look back on that now, I think you're doing a great job by staying positive, but what is that like now, knowing that it's really over, knowing that there's days left of the school year, but it's really over? What are the emotions like for that?
It's definitely frustrating, going into the year, you didn't think you were just going to be playing 3 matches. So, I wish I could have, maybe played better in one match or just made the most out of it. But I think I did a good job doing that. So it happens. But it is definitely tough to see, knowing that I won't be able to compete for Middle Creek again. Luckily, golf matches, tournaments are very similar to one another, whether you're, playing for your individual, for a league, or just for the team. So that's good. It's not a sport that you might never really play again. But it is sad knowing I won't be able to play as a Mustang. Yeah.
And what about golfing at the next level? Is that something you had plans for? Is that something you're pursuing? And what does that look like if you are?
No, I'm not pursuing at the next level. I was actually a pretty late starter in golf. I didn't even start playing until my sophomore year, but I thought I got pretty good pretty quick. So I wasn't able to play at the collegiate level or anything, but I'm going to NC State in the fall, and there's a couple classes actually that are really golf focused. They're just golf specific classes, and I actually know the professor one of those classes, and he tells me it's like a great opportunity to just continue playing the game. So I'm looking forward to that.
Nice. And you've got Andrzej Kopitar over your shoulder there, so you must be a hockey fan, right?
Yeah, Kings fan for life. Used to have season tickets.
Okay, nice. So tell me what happens with the Canes in the NHL when we come back here. What's going to happen?
I cannot tell you. It's pretty crazy. I've heard some rumors about just playing at a couple stadiums. I think it would be awesome knowing all the teams would be playing at PNC, but I'm just excited for sports and especially hockey to come back.
Yeah, Grover Petty, did you guys hear there was a rumor that the NHL was, these different leagues are looking at different ways to come back and play safely, and they threw out a couple of arenas to maybe play for all the teams to play at, and Raleigh being one of them, and then the West Coast for another one. What do you guys think about a proposal like that?
I saw that. I think the NBA is doing the same thing, is trying to figure out a couple of arenas like that where they could basically house everybody in a quote-unquote bubble. I think it would be cool. I mean, to me, I think if you had a situation like that, as long as it could be done safely, where everybody's safe and healthy and, you have all the testing and stuff that you need, I think it would be very similar to a tournament atmosphere, versus a playoff atmosphere for professional sports is very different than a tournament atmosphere like for college and high school. And I think with having everybody in one area, almost like you do when you have Olympic athletes in one area like that, I think it would be a very different experience, but a very cool experience. So I hope there's a way to safely do that where we can salvage the NHL season and NBA season and maybe do something different than what we've seen in years past. But Raleigh,
I think the safety. Yeah, I think the safety piece is paramount, and unfortunately, just my opinion, and I have no degrees in any such things. When you're bringing that many people, even if it's in a quote-unquote bubble and you do have your testing, all you need is for one person to get inside that bubble, and then we're here all over again. Do I want sports? Selfishly, of course. I want to watch nothing but sports once this thing is over. It's really early and really hard for me to wrap my head around that even being a possibility right now.
Charlie, what else can you tell us about where you go from here? Just kind of bringing it back down. So, like Grover mentioned earlier, some of the things that are traditional high school memories you don't get to partake in now. But I know you hopefully have had a really good high school experience. But now the next step, Bryce talked a little bit about, trying to find a roommate and getting ready for college now. What steps are you starting to take for what fall may look like for you now beyond high school?
Just preparing for the fall. Hopefully, college starts on time. I have my AP exams coming up next week. I've been trying to study for those, although it's very tough doing that from home. And then just trying to prepare for college, making sure I have everything to go. One thing that's actually been a priority of mine is I've been dealing with a really big change in my diet due to having Crohn's and celiac disease. So I'm trying to make sure I get all of that ready before I go off to college, because a lot of that is homemade meals that my mom makes for me, and I know I can't be doing that in college. So that's a priority of ours. That's a priority of ours right now. So everything's all good when I head off to Raleigh.
The dining hall is much different. I can go ahead and tell you that. I don't mean necessarily different in a good way, my friend.
Especially NC State.
It's going to the right place, man. We will all agree with you on that.
I figured.
Well, Charlie, I appreciate you coming on with us tonight, man. As we go through this, hopefully over the next few weeks, we'll continue to have more episodes and get you on the show more of our local guys. But I know it's tough, but hopefully, like I say, you've enjoyed high school. You did a lot of great things, and I think you got a good attitude about yourself going forward. So remember those memories and all those great things that you did on the field of competition and throughout high school. So thanks for joining us, man. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of the Sports Block. Welcome back to the Sports Block. I'll bring back in the two Ryans, Magnusson and Grover, and I think just hearing the perspective from the seniors, losing a bigger chunk of their spring season than they ever would have thought is just it's heartbreaking. But at the same time, I think we heard that these guys really are keeping a positive attitude. I think they're grateful for the time that they did get to spend, on the field and on the course, and I think the memories are what's flowing more than the pain right now. The time they had, with their teammates, and I think the reflection piece has been a very positive thing for both the guys we talked to tonight.
Yeah, I think the big. Go ahead.
Grover, you brought up when I tore my ACL junior year, and I can see some parallels in where the guys, build up for something for so long and then it's taken right out from under you. And so I really admire both of their attitudes and the way they're able to bring the positives out of it and continue forward with what they're doing. It's great.
Yeah, and I know I mentioned this previously, but just the not knowing. There was someone made the comparison that when you don't have a timeline, if you're not working with a timeline, you're a lot less productive than if you are working with a timeline. A lot of it is being a self-starter, and a lot of it is doing it on your own. And for that, I think they're better than me because I easily would kind of lose focus and lose direction in that, for sure.
I think the other thing
in a normal environment.
Say what?
High school is hard enough under normal circumstances. Throwing this on top of it, I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's real.
Especially as they're so close to the back half of, like you said, prom, graduation, all those things that, wrap up that senior year, that quote unquote, best year of high school type of deal. It's tough to lose not only the athletic side, but the social aspects of all those memorable events also.
Yeah, to your point, like senior year was definitely my favorite year. And to your point, like no one ever talks about what a great freshman year they had or a great sophomore year they had. They always talk about how it was all wrapped up at the end, whether it be for better or for worse, right? They were able to find that end and move on to the next step, kind of on a closed book instead of like a to be continued. Oh, psych, not continued.
Yeah. It's such a build up and growth period that happens over those 4 years that senior year is the peak, Yeah. It's not the one that you want to have cut short.
And Petty, you're a teacher. What about you? What are you thinking about all this? Whether it be for these students that you've had for 3 or 4 years.
It's tough, man, because it's very similar to the coaches. You look at all the kids that you have in the classroom and the people that you interact with on a daily basis, from the students to the teachers, administrators. Middle Creek's a special place. It just always has been and always will be. And the reason is because of the people that walk the halls every day. And some of those kids, that are seniors, you'll never see them again. And that's sad. And just like the last day on the diamond or the last day on the court or whatever your sport is, you have that last day. Like, like, this is the last game of the regular season, or this is our last, playoff game, and it's over, and, you come back the next day. But there's no back the next day. And so you don't get to say goodbye to a lot of really, really good people, and that's hard. It's tough.
Yeah. And may I be so bold as to ask the man behind the curtain the same question?
Producer,
yeah, it's difficult because, like you said, some of these kids you're not going to see again, and they mean a lot to you. You go through so much with them. You see their ups, you see their downs. You're there for them when they need you, and unfortunately, there's something that Petty always has, like a little thing he does with the guys, with his classes, talks about his early years up to coaching, to teaching, and all that. I always have a little lesson where I talk about, like, I'm always going to be your teacher. You leave here, I'm still going to be your teacher. If you ever need me, please come back and ask. Whatever it is, I'm willing to help, because we spend so many hours with these kids that they feel like they're our kids, you know? And I hate it that they don't get to have those milestone moments that every high school student gets to have. But I understand the reason why we're not there, and it is the best thing that we're not there. But I hurt for them, and I really wish I could see them just for one more day, so that I could tell them that, you know, I care about you, so they can see me in the eyes, and I say to them that I care about you, you know.
This guy over here. Oh, man.
Thank you.
Oh man, that's beautiful. And I agree completely. It's just like the same way as we were talking before. Not having that last day is tough, but I think Charlie had the really good tip about, you know, trying to take the most of it, and like I say, remembering all the good things that high school was about and the moments that those kids did actually have. So, you know, Grover, what are you and Magnusson's thoughts?
Yeah, I think I've said it a few times. I think not being able to end on your own terms is super tough, and I think with everything going on in the world, it's for the right reasons. So it's something that you can kind of hang your hat on. But at the end of the day, you know, for most people, they like started, and it's tough. So.
Yeah, I appreciate the emotion from Maldonado over there. Like you said, Petty, the sports block has evolved so much, and so the sports block is a family, and as I can imagine, teaching the whole school, the faculty, that's a family. So I appreciate what you guys are doing, having us back on here and doing this for the sports block. I think it's a great idea.
Well, look, guys, this was fun. I say we do this again. You know,
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
we got a lot more to talk about, and we're going to get some athletic directors in here and some folks from the media and the Athletic Association, and we're going to keep this ball rolling. So until next time, for Ryan Magnusson, Ryan Gover, Coach Wes Petty, watching the Sports Block. We'll see you next time.